Will Grant from Esnce Apparel. Today I'm doing a special interview with my friend Mike, also known as Smooth Chicken from Longboard Haven. Okay, so let's get into question number one. First thing I wanted to ask you is, when did you first ever discover skateboarding? Like, when did you first hear about it?
When did I first hear about skateboarding?
Yeah.
That's a tough question. Probably from the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, really?
That would probably be, yeah, because Michelangelo used to like skateboard through the sewers and stuff.
I remember that.
So definitely as a little kid, that was probably my first introduction to it. And then I bought a skateboard at a yard sale.
Oh, really?
Old little plastic, crappy little thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I used to sit on it and ride down the hill in front of my house.
How old were you, do you think, when you actually got your first deck?
Probably 6 or 7. Like maybe I had a toy when I was younger, but I don't remember that.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. That's really cool. So when you first started skating and you were spending a good bit of time with it, you know, getting into it, how was the skate scene at the time? Like, how was the community? Was it like non-existent? Were there like people you were meeting, small groups,
Once I was
cliques?
into longboarding, or
Just skateboarding in general, like, you know, just being able to meet other skaters. and
So
other people.
definitely when I was a kid, we were street skating,
Yeah.
and it was kind of the group of people that you hung out with at school.
Yeah.
It was the same group of people that you'd hang out with after, and you'd end up skateboarding with those guys.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we did. We used to go and ride the curbs in front of the school, because we all lived on the street right beside the school.
Yeah.
We'd walk over that way, and then we'd hang out on the curbs there, you know, figuring out how to ollie and stacking decks, and basically just trying to ollie and knocking over walls of decks.
That's
In
awesome.
the early days, I don't think any of us ever made it over.
That's awesome. So out of your first few friends that you met, like, were any of them people that you're still skating with today? Are there any people
No.
that are still around? No?
No, back then, I still know people, like I still have friends that I went to school with back
Okay, you
then.
still know them, they just don't really
But
skate anymore?
they don't really skate anymore. Most of them
Okay.
are just now parents
Okay,
doing
cool,
their
cool.
thing.
Cool. So when did you first started meeting longboarders, when you got into it, where you were meeting guys like, hey, let's go skate, let's go ride and check out these hills and everything?
So I was probably 15,
Yeah.
maybe 16.
Okay, so high school.
And a shop that I used to lurk at called Quiet Storm.
Yeah.
They had a bathing suit display come in.
Yeah.
Probably maybe from Sector 9.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It definitely wasn't the Sector 9 board that I rode. It was a girl skateboard.
Okay.
But it must have been 40 inches long. Like, it was just a big version of a pool deck. And it was part of this bathing suit display. And I remember looking at it like every time I went in. That's a cool skateboard. I didn't know why. And then finally got the courage to go and ask them and say, hey, can I take this thing for a ride?
Yeah.
And put it on the street outside, rolled, all of 5 feet, felt the soft wheels, and was like, this is it, I'm sold.
Oh my God.
And probably for the next month, coming from street skating, I basically just figured out how to do tricks on the thing. So I still was like, I was like, all right, how do I kickflip it? How do I do a sex change? How do I try and do this with it?
Yeah.
And then I think they brought something else in because the manager there was he was going to be the local distributor for TVS skateboards.
Okay.
Which is Terminal Velocity Skateboards. They were a company that sponsored a guy named Yancey Meyer,
Okay.
who used to ride for Sector 9 and now rides for a thing called Cannibal Skateboards that Zero Fox is doing stuff with. So it's all kind of full circle. It's coming back. Oh man, sweet. I saw the shapes and was like, yes, I know who's making those boards. That's this guy.
Oh my God, that's sweet.
But yeah, that was first longboard experience. And then subsequently through that, in learning to ride hills, then I started bumping into people.
Oh wow.
Because there was no one else riding a longboard.
Yeah.
It wasn't happening. Everyone was street skating, and I was just that weird kook riding the skateboard that was different.
I understand. So when did you and Rob Cydia meet? Did you guys meet just on a hill through skateboarding? Through,
We
casual
met
skate friends?
through a group that was called the Toronto Longboarders.
Okay.
And it was run by an editor for a magazine called International Longboarder.
Oh, sweet.
Which was around pre-concrete wave.
Okay.
And every 2 weeks, we used to meet up at Hogtown in front of the shop.
I remember Hogtown.
I think we met at 11 or something like that, maybe earlier, sometimes earlier. But we'd meet up there every other Sunday, and then sometimes we'd skate stuff in the city, but a lot of the time we'd go off to the Hamilton part of it. And we weren't running the gnarly downhill runs, but we were finding neighborhood runs that followed the escarpment.
Yeah,
that
fun stuff still.
Yeah, that people could carve on, and because at this time people were running lots of weird, kooky things.
So a bit more gradual compared to more of the big runs people were seeing
100%, yeah.
Okay.
It took us a number of years to get to the point where we were like, oh, these are the hills that we ride.
That's awesome. So when you were longboarding, obviously, as you said, you're kind of like that kook, you kind of stand out and everything. So when eventually did you meet enough people for you and homies to get together to be like, let's go and skate on Wednesdays, go out and send it, and kind of start what's like OSNS now?
So OSNS was started by Ben Jordan, same guy who started the board meeting.
That's awesome.
And I believe they started the year after board meeting. It's hazy, definitely. Even when Nuts and I sit down and they're talking about it, I'm like, when did this start? We still are like kind of sitting there scratching our heads. Like, I'm not really sure. Did it happen before or after? Yeah. But yeah, right around the time that board meeting was started, Ben also started the old school events. Mainly because he was frustrated in that when people wanted to skate, everyone was always riding a longboard.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I grew up riding these old school fish-shaped boards.
Yeah.
Let's do a night that's us riding all stuff that's different.
Okay. So
And
that's
so
where the
the
name
whole
came from,
idea
old school Shrek, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I get that. That makes sense, you know. It's funny with me participating in it now, it's like we almost always strictly skate garages. But it's so interesting hearing the history behind it. I know last season we went to Hyde Park, that was nice. It was a different kind of change of pace, so that's really cool.
So they used to run from Eglinton. We'd meet outside Eglinton Station at probably at like 7:30 or something. I definitely remember meeting up earlier than 9. Which makes sense because we would have arrived to the horse if that was part of the route that we were doing, probably around 9. We used to do like Russell Hill. There's other garages that are off the side of Yonge Street up around there that are kind of fun.
Yeah.
Nothing quite as good and as like easily skatable as the run we do now. It's definitely over 15 years it's confined itself into being like a sweet little run of garages. Like
sweet.
You know.
Sweet. So like from OSNS and riding those garages, is that one of the things that led you into wanting to like downhill and go skate faster hills? Was that one of the catalysts?
I mean, I raced skis as a kid, or
you did?
Just my basically going fast on things since I was really small was all I really wanted to do.
Okay, ski demon.
A little bit, yeah, like learning to ski when I was a kid. My dad had me skiing before I could walk.
Oh, wow.
And once I figured out how to do it on my own, I just wanted to go like point my skis straight and go down the hill and find like the best way to go as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And I think probably definitely we were going down hills before old school started. Okay. Because I learned how to ride a longboard in the beaches.
Oh, that full of hills.
Hills like Southwood and Glen Manor and the brick road and stuff. Those were things that I skated almost every day.
Yeah.
And so riding down hills was something that I liked already.
Okay.
Old school definitely is a good trainer for learning how to be with people in a corner while being at a constant speed together.
Yeah,
and it was really, we learned how to play around with each other going 30K, so, you know, pushing people and like poking them in the ankle and like tugging on their pants or something just to screw around with them.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And so it kind of, as we started going faster, it was just easy. We already knew how to be close to each other and screw around and, you know, everyone was really comfortable riding with everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is generally how a group of people who like riding down hills together will operate.
Yeah.
You will never bring somebody with you that you feel uncomfortable around.
100%, 100%. So when you first started downhilling and skating more of the serious stuff, I guess, let's say like, you know, 70 and over, did you have kind of like a group of people that you kind of trusted to ride with when you first started? Like 100%. You had that kind of like tight pack where it's like, if I'm gonna go, I want to be with these people, you know?
Yeah, which was Pat and John and Adam and Velocity Vulture. Nate.
Okay.
Nate. That dude was awesome. It was like, I'm going to remember his internet name first, and then I'll remember his real name. But yeah, that was a crew of us. And even before that, without John, it was Pat and Adam and myself and Nate.
Okay.
Because Pat and Nate lived way north of the city.
Yeah.
They were riding for this crazy British surfer dude who was making skateboards under the name Exuberance.
Yeah.
And he always wanted to make a clear board full of lights. Which is crazy because you look at the things that get sold now on like Amazon for longboards.
Yeah.
So many things are clear and full of lights.
Oh my
He
God.
saw the future way before, and just as kooky as you think it is now, it sounded just as kooky back then.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But yeah, Adam and I used to drive out of the city to go and meet them, and we'd skate hills around Hanover and in Collingwood.
Okay, that's sweet. That's sweet. Just to let people know for pretense, John is John Barnett, a professional skateboarder, and Pat is also Patrick Switzer, another professional, well-known downhill skateboarder. So just letting you know, if you didn't know who those people were,
Yeah,
they're well-known in the ski community.
Joker runs a CNC shop out in BC.
Yeah.
Origin CNC, get all your things done there.
Exactly. Awesome. So when Ben Jordan first started setting up the Toronto board meeting, when it first happened, how many riders would you say came out for the first event?
I think we've counted in one of the group photos, I think it's 28.
28?
But between 25 and 30.
Okay.
Not very many people.
Okay. Out of those 30 people, have they been pretty much staples at every single event? Like, have most of those people committed to coming out to each board meeting since then, or has it been like a smaller amount of those people?
It's definitely a smaller amount of those people that comes out. I'd definitely say though that at least on one hand, you could count people who have been to almost every board meeting.
Yeah. It's crazy to
Everybody
think
misses
now.
one.
It's crazy to think, like, just really quickly, how many people do you think in total over all these years have probably come out to board meeting? Like, how many thousands
Am
of
I
people do you
counting
think?
people more than once?
No,
I don't
no.
count myself 15 times.
No. How many people do you think just in general? Just like a number you think on your head that maybe
2,500.
2,500?
Individuals.
Wow. That's awesome.
That would be my guess.
That's crazy.
Might be being a little liberal. Maybe
Yeah.
it's closer to 2,000, but
Yeah. That's crazy. And speaking of that, one thing I wanted to get into from that is I remember seeing a picture of you when you were out, I believe, was it Tokyo? Because they were having a board meeting?
Yep.
So people from Tokyo were coming out to Toronto for the board meeting, they got inspired by it, and then they brought it back to Tokyo? Is that how it happened?
Yeah. So my friend Yuji, who's a photographer and a skater,
Yeah.
brought a couple people from Tokyo to board meeting because he had come and was like, oh my God, you have to come to this. This event is crazy.
Yeah.
So a couple of them came over one year, Okada and I don't think Kohei. But Okada definitely came. Okada's the guy who runs the board meeting over there.
Okay.
And they got psyched on it enough that when they went back to Tokyo the following year, they started their own.
Okay, that's awesome. I think I remember you telling me that in Tokyo, the only day they really have to themselves is Sunday, I believe. So you were saying, I think, that it's on Sunday is when they do it. So that's like the one day they can celebrate and really have fun, right? And
Yeah,
enjoy themselves.
people generally will work 6 days a week. If you're going to school 6 days a week.
Okay.
You know?
And is it true too in Japan and that area in general that skaters often are forced to ride at night instead of during the day?
I don't know about all over Japan, but definitely in Tokyo, the during the day skateboarding is not cool.
Yeah, I remember seeing a skateboard edit with some longboarders riding at night, like in Tokyo, downtown. And I remember not seeing much footage during the day, and I always thought to myself, why is that? But after I remember having a conversation with you, you were saying just kind of because of the way they look at skaters in Tokyo during the day, it's frowned upon.
Yeah, I mean,
it's trouble with cops potentially.
Yeah, the police have a lot of power.
Yeah.
And sometimes they love to wave that power around.
Okay.
And it tends to be a very proper society.
Okay.
So if you're not doing things that are, the right thing to be doing, then you're a rebel, and then, oh my gosh, you're a rebel.
I know a massive foundation of it's all respect, right? They're very, very big on that.
Very respectful people. Yeah, it's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
But definitely, we skated a bit during, like when we did the board meeting in Tokyo, for example.
Yeah.
The police definitely were following us. They were definitely trying to stop the event from happening.
Okay.
They kept trying to get people and get their ID, and myself and this guy from New Zealand, Nick, he and I both kept going up, being like, "Oh, here's ID, and you hand it out with both of your hands because it's a respectful way to give out your ID." And they never wanted our ID because we weren't locals.
Yeah.
We weren't the people who were, who they actually wanted to be like, "No, we're gonna slap you on the wrist."
Yeah. They're like, we're not gonna bother you because you're not gonna be here much longer. We're looking for the people that live here, right? So they can, be able to, I guess, wave their influence.
But we skated in Tokyo at night as well.
Yeah.
There was one day or one night where we basically spent all night skating in Tokyo, and We had cop cars like roll right up the hill where we were skating, real slow.
Oh, wow.
Looking at everybody. But they never stopped. They never got out. They just kept going.
Yeah.
So at nighttime we were able to session weird little alley corners. And
Okay.
it's a fairly flat city, but they'll have these weird little pockets where like a flat street will be here, and then one here, and there's a weird ridge going down, and they've built a road down it. It'll have a steep drop into like a really tight corner.
Yeah.
So there's fun little features all over the city, just kind of hidden around.
That's cool.
That you can. So instead of having garages to skate, because there's like 8 security guards at every garage, you can't skate them.
Yeah.
They skate these little like city features.
Okay, that's
really
awesome.
cool.
That's awesome. Speaking of Tokyo, how many different countries have you like explored on skate trips? Just going around just to like have fun, let's say races, or if you go out on a trip with friends. I've seen a couple pics of you on a couple mountains with like P-Swiss and them all in leathers. Forget how old that picture was, but
So that,
I've seen a bunch
that
of the
picture's
buddies.
old now.
Was that in the Alps?
That was probably in the Alps.
Oh wow.
I believe so. I'm pretty sure that was in France.
Ah.
Barnett would probably remember better.
Okay.
We might have been in Switzerland at that point.
Yeah.
But definitely it was cold.
Oh my god, it looked cold from up there. I mean, like it was super cloudy in the back.
That's why
freezing up there.
everybody was wearing leathers.
Okay.
It's just like, whoa, you want to wear it just to like stay warm.
Okay, I totally get that.
But man, countries on a skateboard. So Canada and the USA.
Yeah.
The UK, I've done Scotland and Ireland and Britain, France and Spain and the Netherlands and Greece and Italy and Germany and the Czech Republic and Thailand and Laos and Cambodia and Egypt, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've never really like sat down and tried to list it all off. It's a bunch.
Seriously, you've been all around.
It's a bunch.
Yeah, I'm an envy. I gotta go and explore those places.
Yeah, man. Just gotta, sacrifice a little something here and there, work a terrible job for a while that pays you too much money that then allows you to go and take 6 months off. And
what, in your opinion, would be probably one of the funniest stories you've had while on a skate trip? Just something that was just left field and just something you won't forget.
Will be Luke Mello in Switzerland. We were at the top of this mountain and we were like, there's little like, probably an inn, like a motel or something.
Yeah.
And they had a little restaurant and we were like, oh sweet, we had just packed up our tents. We're like, sweet, we can get coffee, amazing. And Luke's like, oh my God, I'm gonna get orange juice because vitamins can be hard to get on a skate trip.
Yeah.
And he orders, he's a young kid.
Yeah.
Doesn't know what he's ordering. He orders a Campari orange, thinking that like maybe that's just a cool brand of orange juice, not thinking that Campari is an alcoholic bitters.
Oh wow!
So he gets this at like, I don't know, probably 7 in the morning.
Oh
this
my.
16-year-old gets like a boozy orange juice.
Oh no! I can already see where this is going.
Takes one sip of it and is just like, oh, what is that?
Oh my God! Just got hammered.
Yeah, that was in Switzerland. That was he didn't get hammered. He just like, he was wanting
His
like
reaction
a nice,
was
sweet orange juice.
Yeah, his reaction was.
And
just totally
Campari
opposite.
is really bitter.
Okay.
Very, very bitter. Yeah.
I can just imagine his reaction. Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's
hilarious.
red. So when mixed with the orange juice, it looked kind of like maybe like a blood orange juice.
Oh.
A real tasty orange juice.
Okay. Okay.
It definitely was not.
For sure. In your opinion, what would you say is the coolest place you've skated in Canada?
Coolest place in Canada.
If you could think of a hill, or if it's a run or a race or something, that's totally cool too. If it's not a specific area. If there's just a hill or a run that you just love or anything. Just like one spot in the country where if you could just go there and if you could just have fun and ride. You don't want to say what the actual name is, it's okay. If you want to do or something.
Yeah, so out close to the hill where Top Speed Challenge has been happening the last couple years.
Out in Quebec.
Yeah, out in Quebec. There's a run where, forget how long it is, it's a few K,
Awesome.
but you can go well over 100 kilometers an hour There's no serious corners. Everything's sweepers.
Oh, wow.
And you can mob it with a group of people. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's a really, really fun hill to skate.
Oh my
just
God,
because
that's
you
awesome.
can really push the limits on it,
Yeah.
and the consequences aren't the worst.
Yeah.
It's not like the top speed challenge hill where there's some consequences.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
There's
You
a
gotta-
jersey barrier down one side.
I've seen that thing looks really intimidating.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, totally.
Oh my God, for sure, for sure. So out of those skate trips, what would you say were those first couple skate trips that made you realize, like, I need to explore more of the world?
Definitely my first real trip was Quebec.
Okay.
Because back then there was a really big crew in and around Montreal, and there was, or you know, an hour around it, the way there's a crew an hour around Toronto.
Yeah.
And those were the two centers. There was a big one, there's actually a big one in Ottawa too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm seeing it grow now.
That
Steve
like,
Sutton's
that
hosting
crashed and now is starting to come back again. But yeah, we used to go back and forth. The Quebecicans would come to Ontario, and then
I've never heard that one.
then we would go to Quebec. And definitely Top Challenge. That was the first race. I wasn't racing the first year that I went. We went just to watch. Mike Brook, who's now the editor of Concrete Wave magazine, who used to also be editor for International Longboarder. He was one of the first people I knew in the community, and he drove us out to Top Challenge.
Oh wow.
He was like, "You guys like this? You guys got to go and check this out."
Yeah.
I think Joker raced that year. Maybe Pat did, or maybe we didn't know Pat yet. Hazy. But definitely that first trip where I showed up and all of a sudden got to meet these skaters who had traveled from all over the world
Yeah.
to come to Montreal
Yeah.
to skate down this crazy fucking road that now is not nearly as bad because they've paved it.
Okay.
And it's like,
Not as chundery. That's
Dude.
crazy.
there were 3 different colors of spray paint for the varying severity of hole that you might encounter.
Holy moly.
Whether it was going to launch you or whether it was going to be like a pothole.
Oh
or...
my God. Yeah, it's just like a whole can of worms. You just don't know what you're gonna get.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I just remember hanging out and watching these people rip down a hill.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do what they're doing right now.
For
I
sure.
want to go somewhere else in the world to go ride down a hill.
Yeah. So how exactly did everything come about with Club 54? So, because that's one of the most, well-known skate houses, at least back in the day. I've never actually spent time there,
so
but
weird to
I've
think of
always
it as a
heard so
well-known
many
skate
stories
house.
about, Club 54 from everybody. I know a lot of people have spent time there, a lot of different people in the Ontario community and other places.
Well, yeah. So once Pat had moved off to BC
Okay.
from Ontario, and so like we'd shut down he had basically shut down the shop that we'd been running out of our basement.
Okay.
And I was living with my friend Chris, also known as Directive Zero, who's the guy who started the Ontario Longboarding Forum, which
wow.
is where everything used to happen
remember all
before Facebook, essentially.
Yeah.
And so he and I were roommates for a bit, and then I don't remember what the catalyst was to
Yeah.
move, but Barnett, who was living in this house in the annex, crazy old, like beautiful mansion that had just been turned into like a rooming house.
Yeah.
And there was a room becoming available there. I think yeah, Chris was moving somewhere else. He was moving out. So there's a room available there, and I needed it really fast.
Yeah.
Like, boom, sweet, I'll get a place here.
Yeah.
And then I'll find something else.
Yeah, for sure.
Because at that point, rent wasn't expensive. Like, I think for our 2-bedroom place, we were spending $800 a month.
Okay.
Which is like fucking crazy to think about now.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a 1-bedroom place for twice that price now.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. The city's very expensive.
But yeah, so I just needed a cheap place to live until I could find an apartment again. And then 7 years later, still hadn't found an apartment again. And we had slowly converted this rooming house. We had 2 stories in this house,
Yeah.
2nd and 3rd floor. And slowly, as random exchange student A was moving out, we'd find a skater and be like, "Hey, yo,
Fill their position.
let's get this going. Like, let's start this as a house.
Okay.
If everybody lives at the location where the van lives, where we all like to skate with each other,
Yeah.
then there's no driving around in the morning
Yeah, for
to
sure.
go get everybody.
For sure.
Whenever the hell we want, we just
Yeah.
pile in the van, go for a skate, good to go.
That's awesome. Did Eric Jensen ever live at Club 54?
Yeah, Eric Jensen lived there. Dexter Manning lived there. It was Joker McLovin lived there. Barnett, myself, Evan, yeah, all sorts of people.
Wow.
Phil, Big Phil, and Hamilton Phil.
All the Phils.
Yeah, all the Phils. Yeah, it was a rat house.
Wow, that's crazy. Because now when I think about it, you know, when I think of skate houses, I kind of think of like the Balboa Farm now. You know, it's kind of like a spot where there's a whole big little, you know, like hub of skaters that, you know, spend time with each other in that area and always riding. So it almost feels like it's kind of like a rebirth of that kind of vibe.
Totally.
You know, but just in Burlington, right?
Yeah. It's gonna pop up wherever like a crew of people who are like-minded are thinking the same way together.
And that's awesome. That's really, really cool. Okay, so the one question that I wanted to be able to ask you with the community, with the way it's going, when you started out Longboard Haven, what were a couple of your main goals with the shop? You know, I know that your motto is you'll only carry things that you'll ride, but was your goal just trying to be able to host different events and bring like the community together in a bigger way, or?
I mean, in a larger sense, sure. But initially it was, I had just lost my job working as a process engineer in R&D, and Rob had just gotten out of a divorce.
Okay.
And we were sitting around drinking one night, hating life.
Yeah.
Because sometimes life kicks you.
Yeah.
And he had been rolling this idea around in his head, and he'd spoken to Pat about it. And yeah, we decided that the skate shops in the city weren't doing a good job at showcasing the stuff that's available in the sport, or maybe people who are building cool things. I mean, and of course we can't bring everything in.
Yeah, for sure.
But even when the shop was in the basement, we were doing things like bringing in Kahalanis from Sweden.
Yeah,
you know,
awesome trucks.
Yeah, right? We were bringing in those weird one-off things because not everybody wants to pay individual shipping and importing charges on a $600 pair of trucks.
For sure.
So if we order 10 sets together, boom. All of a sudden, everybody can afford to get the things that they want. So I wanted to take that same mentality of having some things that you might not see in every skate shop that you walk into.
Yeah,
things
so
that we can showcase.
Those people that are actually trying to be able to do those different things. You know?
Totally, and that's not for everybody. I totally get that that's not for everybody. I have people who walk in here sometimes and look at, you know, eras or something and go, whoa, people spend how much on this? I only want to spend $150 on a cruiser.
I wanted to ask you about how the escarpment surfers first started.
So probably the way that any crew does. There was a group of us who were skating together, and they become the people that you get really comfortable riding on hills with. And you know, just gave ourselves a name. Yeah.
Well, overall, with the whole like escarpment surfers name, were you guys some of the first people to go up to the escarpment and find most of those runs? Like, were you?
I mean,
or was it more like other folks, like P.6
not.
maybe up there since he was in Hanover, more north? Or
well, so he knew some of the stuff that was up in Collingwood because he had lived around there.
Yeah,
you know, and as a teenager, had booted around crappy cars, you know, with friends out in the middle of nowhere. So he was aware of some of the hills up there.
Okay.
We had Scotty and Adam Meese and Jacoop, and oh man, there was another dude who had a little MG car. He was rad. Those were the guys that we were skating with.
Okay.
We were always, you know, we were just skating the escarpment.
The escarpment is pretty much like the end-all be-all if you want to go fast in Ontario. So I mean,
well, yeah, I mean we're flat here.
Yeah.
So we're lucky to have this chunk of rock that shoots up 100, 200, 300 meters that lets us, that people have to get up and down.
Yeah.
So they had to build a road.
For sure.
Everywhere else in the world, it's a type of terrain that's different.
Yeah.
So you go to a place like, you know, Switzerland, where you've got the Alps.
Yeah.
They've got runs that'll take you 45 minutes to go down, you know. But they also have a lot of consequences.
Yeah.
Because when there's 26 hairpins in a mountain road going down, generally there's maybe a guardrail.
Yeah.
But if you go off that thing, like,
yeah,
you're rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Because you could just fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
100%. Whereas it's not going to happen here.
Yeah.
So whereas here people will try and figure out, how am I going to do this run and not slow down?
Yeah.
People there, are really used to doing corners, but they're not as used to going 100K consistently with a group of friends for 3K, where they can push each other and joke around. So as much as people will say that Ontario's really bad for downhill skateboarding, if you like it enough, it's got some really good training grounds. It forces you to learn how to hold a tuck for minutes and minutes and minutes at a time, which people who live in mountains don't have to do. Because they get in a tuck for 20 seconds and then they get back up so they can slow down so they can get around the corner, and then they do it again, so they're constantly getting out of tuck.
For sure.
So
it's interesting that you break it down.
We train good downhill skateboarders here.
It's interesting you said that. I've never thought of it that way, to where, as you were saying, like oftentimes we get more comfortable with like going really fast for committed periods of time because oftentimes we don't have tons of turns that require sliding. Whereas if you're in a mountain, just like the time I've spent in Quebec or whatever, it's like usually, if you're tucking, it's only for, as you said, 20 to 30 seconds, and then you're getting out of tuck to pre-drift a corner.
Oh, exactly, because otherwise you're stupid.
It's a whole different mechanic when I think of it that way. It kind of makes me look at just, this whole province a little bit different, just thinking it from that aspect,
There's good stuff here. Just take advantage of what you've got.
Overall, over the past 6 years of running the shop, how do you feel like you've impacted the skate community with what you've been doing with like events and being able to like connect with other people and outreach? Do you feel like you've made a big impact in the city?
I like to think so. There's always things that you think, maybe I dropped the ball here, or I could have done more here, or why didn't I host this event? But like, when you're also running a business, it's super hard to, it's always good to have outside people who are also doing it. Like even back in the day when we were doing events, it wasn't the shop that was setting up the event. It was like Barnett would have an idea for an event, and then boom, of course, like sponsor the event.
For sure.
But it's always lovely when like people like yourself, setting up a race league, or Bombora, or whomever the local entity is, always we're happy to help, always there to help. Sometimes we're a little like spacey because there's all sorts of other stuff going on, but always down for the cause.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. All right, now I wanted to ask you, do you have any good luck charms?
Nothing in specific that I use to this day, but definitely I do have, I have a shell that I found when I was skating in South Africa. That was underneath my tent when I picked it up off of the ground, packing up after an event. And I tied a bunch of thread around that and kept that as a necklace that I wore for a number of years. And I definitely used to skate with it. I think probably at one time I would have maybe like kissed it the way that the guy in the Cool Runnings with the Jamaican bobsled team has an egg. And he's like, coach, kiss my egg. So I probably definitely did that. But no, aside from just, making sure you're ready to go down the hill and having a brief safety meeting, that's...
Yeah, I hear you. Gotta stay safe.
Exactly. That's where I like to be, where I'm about to, get into that closed frame of mind that you need to be for downhill.
Get in that headspace, for sure. I totally understand that.
Worry about you and the 4 feet around you. And that's about it.
Pretty much. Your mind just goes blank other than, okay, what's around me?
Get
down the hill.
For the number of events and stuff that I've been at where, you come to the bottom and there's a guy on a loudspeaker and there's music and there's, all sorts of stuff because it's an event. I don't remember any of that. There's no... You're not thinking about that when you're racing, because if you're thinking about that, you're not doing well.
For
if you have time to think about someone talking, it's like your brain just shuts off.
Exactly.
And you operate the way you know how to operate, and I don't know.
100%. So one of the last questions for today is, do you have any future plans or anything you're planning on hosting with Longboard Haven? Any events or any cool things that you got coming up in the next few months?
Well, I mean, we're going to be hosting the race series with yourself.
And that's going to be awesome.
That's going to be a whole lot of fun. We're going to continue doing the lessons that we do for new people at the shop.
Awesome.
And, we're going to try and bring in the same thing we always do. Try and bring in the things that people are looking for. I've got a couple ideas for events that I'm brewing, some downhill stuff, but we have to see what happens with some of those hills. We're in the middle of, we're trying to get some parts of Toronto shut down so that they can actually be skate spots. So
that'd be awesome.
We're in the middle of talking to some city councillors about that, about how we go about shutting down a hill so that maybe Toronto could have a longboard skate park.
That would be beautiful.
So that's it's a pipe dream, but it's a work in progress, and
Yeah.
we'll see where that goes. But that's what we're working on,
That's awesome.
and just to keep on keeping on what we're doing here.
That's awesome. Thank you so much,
My
Mike.
pleasure,
It was a
man.
great interview.
Thanks for
Thank
sitting
you
down in
very
the
much.
chat. That was awesome.
Yeah. All right, thank you everyone for watching the interview. I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to check out Esnce Apparel on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and also check out Longboard Haven on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and also go on their website. And if you haven't been down to the shop, it's 183 Queen Street East in
It is.
Toronto.
Down in
Make
Moss Park.
sure you come check them out. They're awesome people.